Hi everybody. Is anybody here for Lunchtime Live today? I'm here at the Tijuana Estuary out in the scrub. And hi Miguel. I've stayed kind of in the scrub but close to the visitor center in hopes that maybe we'll see today's bird species hopping down the sidewalk. I often see them hopping down the sidewalk right out in front of the visitor center. Hi Barb. Well, I guess I'll get started and people will tune in as we go. So today we are back to talking about birds, and we're going to talk about the California towhee. Towhees are actually a New World sparrow. They're a little bit on the big side of sparrows. Let me show you kind of what they look like. You've probably seen them because they are here year-round, and you might even have them in your yard. So towhees are large. They're about 8.5 to 9.5 inches, and they're stout little birds, stout big birds. They sort of give an even, it's windy. Hope you guys can hear me over the helicopters today. It's a pretty noisy day here. Hi Susie. Okay, I wanted to show you this picture of a towhee. I think that's one reason, you know, they think of them as stout, is they fluff up like this. See how they've got their crown all raised and fluffy? In fact, their whole body. This is a good picture too to show their beak. Why do you think they have a beak like that? Does anybody know? Hi Joanne. It's because they eat seeds. So when you see a really thick beak like sparrows and finches have, it's because they're mainly seed eaters. Anyway, here's the other picture, and it's in one of our willow trees. So you can see that they're kind of stocky. Their legs are stocky. Their tail is long. Their wings are short and rounded, and again that beak is really thick for cracking seeds. They're a uniform kind of a matte brown color, except you're going to see this rust underneath their tail, which is called the chrysum. This area is called the chrysum, and also around their bill. It's kind of a rust color. I'll show you this picture one more time. So that is a California towhee. Male and females look alike. Often they look very different, but in towhees they look alike. So their habitat is the scrublands, and the location in which they live is basically they're native to the coastal region of western United States and Baja. They're a permanent resident here. So we have 50 birds that live here year-round and 320 that migrate through. And the towhees are California towhees are here year-round. So that name, towhee, where does it come from? It comes from the sound of their call. So it's just like sort of a two-note thing, towhee, like that, towhee. And I titled this episode of Lunchtime Live a Tangle of Towhees, because while these birds don't flock, you'll usually see them in pairs, but they still, all birds have kind of a group name, and even though you're not going to really see a group of towhees, you're just going to see a pair or a single. A pair of them is called a tangle of towhees. And that is in reference to their habitat, right? Those tangly bushes that they like to hang out in. The tangly scrub. Hi, Michael. So as far as their song, they sing a lot. So when towhees get going, they just sing and sing and sing, you know, typical of sparrows. And they're considered romantic because they will sing songs to each other. Towhees pair for life, they mate for life. So they do all kinds of cute things like sing complimentary songs to each other, feed each other, and we'll get to sort of how they raise chicks in a little bit. As far as behavior, you're gonna see them hopping on the ground. They can get going, they can actually run pretty fast. And that's one reason that I sort of parked myself here in the scrub that is next to the sidewalk. As I mentioned earlier, I was hoping we might see one hopping down the sidewalk, because a lot of times when I'm in the visitor center, I see them and I get to watch them feed each other. Another sort of unique behavior with towhees is that they're often the first warning to other birds. Like if a cat comes or, you know, something's going on, the towhees are kind of the first responder. You might see them perching, you know, on the building even. You might see them on telephone wires, you know, but mostly, you know, you're gonna see them with those big beaks out foraging for seed. When they fly, they use a lot of wing power for a short distance because they've got those short little wings. And let's talk about what these guys eat. They eat seeds, but they also eat elderberry and poisonous oak berries. So during breeding season, and they're not the only birds who do it, but a lot of times that's when they really get into the insects. Extra protein for the babies and for themselves during breeding season. So during breeding season, they'll eat grasshoppers, beetles, spiders, millipedes, snails. And the rest of the year, it's pretty much seeds from, you know, again, elderberry, poison oak, and then the berries, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And you're gonna see them just hopping or running, or they can even hop backwards. If you were to have them in your yard, towhees are attracted to water, and so I always have a dish of water out in my yard for various animals and birds, but I see the towhees coming to it a lot. And they like millet, and almost any wild bird seed that you buy has a lot of millet in it, and they really like that. And they also like apricots, plums, and green peas. But you have to be careful when you put things like that out, not to, you know, let it spoil. Michael is just telling us that the Mexican common name is scratcher. And that's a good one because one of their eating behaviors is called the double scratch foraging maneuver. What they do is they look under the leaves by lunging forward with, you know, both feet, and then quickly hopping backwards with both feet and scratching the ground as they go, and that will unearth things for them to eat. So perfect, scratcher, that's a good name. As far as their courtship goes, their courtship begins in March, as with most of our spring migrants also begin in March or April. They start a little earlier because they're already here. And both males and females participate in attracting each other. The female twitches her tail and the male sings a special high-pitched song. The female builds the nests, and their nests are usually kind of built in a low fork of a bush or a tree. They like live oak, they like willow, eucalyptus, poison oak. And that's because those things are near their foraging site. So their nest is twigs, grass, but the special thing is they like to use flowers in the outside of their nest and also trash like ribbons. So that's kind of festive. And on the inside, animal hair, sage, and the kind of seeds that fly through the air. They're kind of a downy seed. They like to put those in their nests. And towhees are really territorial. Males can be, they will both defend the nest, and males will defend the territory. And they're pretty feisty. They like to sit on your car and look in the mirror at themselves and maybe pick a fight with themselves. So the finches do that too. In fact, you guys are lucky that you park in the main parking lot, because if you were to park over by the research buildings like some of us do, we have finches and towhees that like to sit right on our side mirrors and go to the bathroom until we can't see out of our side mirrors. And sooner or later, maybe we won't even have any paint left on our side mirrors because we have to wash them so much. So the male kind of just watches the female build the nest. So hopefully he's doing his job protecting the territory and not just sitting around watching. They have 1 to 3 broods a year, and they'll usually have their first clutch in April. Incubation is 14 days, and the nesting period is up to 11 days. I love the way websites talk about the color of eggs, because they can't just say blue. They say, pale blue, creamy white. Well, which is it? And they say, that it's speckled with kind of a purpley, blackish brown. So you get the drift. Sort of blue and sort of speckled. And these babies are born altricial, which you guys who watch this all the time probably know now what that means. They're born, hairless and helpless, and blind. But what's curious about the towhees is that they are ready to leave the nest in 8 short days. However, once they fledge, they are still taken care of by their parents for at least 4 weeks. Barb, I just see what you've said. The cottonwood trees have fluffy seeds, and I bet you that is exactly what they're putting on the inside of their nest, because often the willows and the cottonwood trees are right next to each other. So anyway, so the babies are taken care of, kind of like our college students might, go off to school and sort of get out on their own, but maybe come back a couple of times, and you're still kind of looking after them for a while. That's the way towhee babies are. And let's see, once towhees grow up, they can be, I think their total lifespan is like 12 years, maybe closer to 13. I think the oldest one was 12 years and 10 months. So, that's a pretty long time for a little bird. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you guys. You know, these birds that fledge early but might still be on the ground, some, and being taken care of by their parents, a lot of times when you see babies on the ground, they don't really need your help. If they're pretty well feathered, a lot of times their parents have an eye out for them. If they still look like, tiny half-naked babies, then they shouldn't be there and they need your help. So let me think, is there anything you guys can think of that you'd like to know about towhees? I'll give you guys a second. Sometimes it takes a while to pop up. Anyway, I hope you guys can come and see the towhees. They're fairly easy to see here. We have a big population. They're really sweet to watch. They are romantic little birds feeding each other and singing songs together. Predators, the biggest predator of small birds is cats, but also Cooper hawks. And when a cat gets them, there's sort of remains, dead birds left behind. When a Cooper hawk gets them, there is nothing left but some feathers. So I say this because I just had a Cooper hawk in my backyard get a mockingbird, and there was nothing left. And funny thing, I think you guys have watched an episode of me talking about the jays. They talked about that for, a good week. Like every morning they would be out there, talking about that to all the other birds. And honestly, I haven't had any birds in my yard for like a week. They're all afraid. These guys, the males, and I'm answering Miguel here, they look alike, the males and the females. And before I go, I have something special to show you. First of all, here's those eggs. And in this picture, yes, very pale blue with kind of brownish splotches. And this nest doesn't look terribly exciting, but according to what I read, some of them are. Hi, Lizette. And then I just want to show you guys, these are the little babies, helpless. There they are. And this is the really cute picture. There's a baby towhee. So I'm wondering if this one is old enough to be out hopping around. Hard to say. The spotted towhee, Susie is talking about the spotted towhee. There are, I think, 6 different kinds of towhees around. There's canyon towhees, there's green towhees, there's spotted towhees. And the interesting thing about the spotted one is, how we call the California towhee pair group a tangle of towhees. The spotted towhee's song is a little bit different and apparently sounds like a teapot. They're saying teapot instead of towhee. And so if you're talking about a pair group of spotted towhees, you might say a teapot of towhees. All right. I guess I wanted to tell you guys before we go that next week, it's the week after that I'll be talking about another species, but next week we're going to have an additional special Lunchtime Live for Latino Conservation Week. And Anne-Marie Tipton is going to be interviewing Nancy Torres and Lorena Warner-Lara on their careers. So it should be interesting, especially for people that are interested in a career. So tune in next week, and then tune in again the week after for my next Lunchtime Live. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. We'll have to wait and see. I have some ideas. So I'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. Come see the Towhees.